Have you ever been so caught up in the moment that you just can't seem to fight your way out of it or find your way out of it? Lost in thought, thought that makes you feel uncomfortable, thought that makes you feel as though you're just losing the plot. And at that point, you kind of wonder, how can I get grounded? How can I get myself back into a space where I feel comfortable? There is a metaphor or a story that has helped me immensely throughout my life. And I've seen it helping so many of my clients too. And I just love to share it with you. The metaphor is called Is That So? And it tells this story. There was a young girl who lived in a village and she became pregnant. Her father was absolutely horrified that she'd become pregnant. And he asked her, who is the father? And his daughter she was petrified of her father. And she didn't want her boyfriend to be punished by her dad. So she said, oh, it was one of the monks up at the monastery at the top of the hill. So her father marched her up to the monastery and asked her which monk had made her pregnant. And the young woman pointed to a certain monk and she said, it was him, Dad, it was him. So her father approached this monk and gave him a severe talking to about what he had done, and he'd got his daughter pregnant and this just wasn't acceptable. And that as soon as the boy was born, the monk would have to take responsibility for it. And the monk stood there and he listened to everything the father had to say. And at the end of the father shouting at him and accusing him of all sorts of things, he just said to the father, is that so? And nothing else. As soon as the baby was born, the father took the baby away from his daughter and took the baby up to the monastery, just as he said he would, and he gave the baby to the monk and said, he's your responsibility. I want nothing to do with him. You're to look after him. And the monk again just said, is that so? And nothing else. Now, 18 years have passed and the father's getting older and he's finding it more and more difficult to look after his farm. And by this point, his daughter has never married. And she eventually tells her father, when she realizes how difficult her father's finding looking after the farm, that the baby boy's father was not who he thought it was. It was not the monk. It was another chap who had lived in the village. And at that point, the father was angry with his daughter, but determined to go back up to the monastery to find his grandson so that his grandson could come back and help him on the farm. So he went all the way back up to the monastery. He found the monk who introduced him to his grandson. And the father apologized profusely for what had happened and the misunderstanding. And the monk just said, is that so? And was happy for the boy or the young man to go back to the farm with the grandfather. And that story taught me so much, because the monk didn't argue with the reality that he was faced with in the moment. He didn't argue with the reality of the father shouting at him, of accusing him of doing something. He realized the father was in a low state of mind, and he just accepted it for what it is, what it was. Even when he was about to face the loss of a boy that he had looked after for 18 years, he was okay with what was. And in that saying, is that so? There is absolute and total acceptance of what is happening, what is unfolding in front of you. And there have been several instances in my life where that lovely wisdom has popped up to remind me that I'm arguing with my current reality, with whatever's going on in front of me at the moment. And these experiences have been things from my daughter's being ill, to buying a house, to, health problems that I've had myself over the last couple of years. And in hearing that, is that so? It was just that lovely, gentle, loving reminder to bring me back here into the now, to see that whenever I argue with my reality, I'm the only one who suffers. How about you?